Live from my home in Rocky River. I sound like I have a scratchy throat, like I was yelling and screaming today. I wasn't. We had the UCSS today. I went to the Guardians game today. I got a lot to talk about. This live edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull is brought to you by Bet Rivers. If you're not using the Bet Rivers app by now, what are you doing? You've got some night baseball games. You've got the NBA Finals Game 1. You've got my Friday parlay coming your way, if I may. Tomorrow, I just did 4 rhymes in a row. The first 3 were not on purpose, and the fourth, I went for it, and I felt like Adam Sandler in Happy Gilmore. Tomorrow, the parlay. Hopefully, I can. I've last 3 parlays, I went 4 for 4, then 3 for 4, 3 for 4 again. Hopefully, we'll get back on track with a 4 for 4 parlay this Friday. All coming up courtesy of Bet Rivers on today's live podcast, live edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull. I'll be answering your chat questions. You can jump in with me live if you want. But if not, jump in the chat. And I have the chat up. Spencer says, nice meeting you today, Bull. Yes, Spencer. I'm going to spend a lot of this live show talking about the Browns, the extensions for Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry, the first comments by Nick Chubb yesterday. All positive stuff for the Browns. But first, I do want to spend a couple of minutes about my trip to Progressive Field today. Believe it or not, it was my first time this year. I usually just watch at home. When I first moved to Cleveland, I would go to Guardians games all the time. When I first moved here, I didn't have a kid. I didn't have children. I didn't have a child. It was whatever, pre-COVID. And over the years, I went less and less, just, nothing to do with the Guardians. It was just, I didn't have the time. And, a lot of times I like to be home to be able to see more detail on TV. And since COVID, I've not gone to games very often. At this point, that has nothing to do with it. It's just, is what it is. But it was nice to be out there today at the ballpark. Unfortunately, it was a bad game for the Guardians. I'll get to that in a minute. But it was great being out at the ballpark today because, like I said, it was the first time to see the renovations out in right field since they did them. Now you could see through the stadium, through the right field bleachers with those stupid. The only bad thing about the stadium were those terrible shipping containers in right field, and now those are gone, which is nice. Obviously, everybody knows that at this point, but it's my first time seeing it in person, which was a lot of fun. I met so many fans at the ballpark. I couldn't take 2 steps without somebody saying hi. It was great. I just mentioned that Spencer with the first chat of the day on YouTube saying, nice to meet you. And remember meeting Spencer today. I'm not going to lie. I can't remember everybody's name that I met today because I must have met 40 people, 50 people. I don't know. I felt like every 2 steps. I try to remember people's names. I try to remember to ask everybody their name because, we have an interaction and I want it to be a good interaction for you and I want it to be a good interaction for me. So it was cool meeting people. I met some guy as I was leaving. I don't think I caught his name, and he was telling me the story about, being in the Air Force, and he was an older gentleman, and he was talking about how people used to bust his chops about being from Cleveland, and he appreciates that since I've moved here that I show a lot of love to Cleveland, and so that was cool. Spencer, I remember Spencer was one of the guys sitting behind me. There was 2 teenagers, and the father is the owner of Gunsliman's Tavern, which is, he mentioned that Dustin and I had been there for a remote broadcast, and we had a good time there. And I remember that burger being particularly good. And he let me know that there's a Gunsliman's to go in Rocky River, which is exciting. I haven't tried it yet. For some reason, I stupidly, even though it's the same name, didn't really know for sure that it was the same owner. And so I found out that today. I guess I should have known that. I don't know why I thought maybe somebody stole the name. But anyway, it was nice to meet you and your family today, Spencer. Creative Juice asked, did I get a dog with Bartman's official ballpark mustard on it? I did. No, you know what? I did not get a dog, Creative Juice. I'll tell you, I'll give you my whole menu. But even if I did get a dog, I would not have gotten mustard. I don't like mustard. I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend you, but I'm not a mustard guy. In fact, I don't put condiments really on much of anything. I don't eat. I'd eat if I went somewhere and I was at a barbecue or something, and somebody gave me a burger and it happened to have ketchup on it, I would eat it. But would never purposely put ketchup on anything. I don't use mustard. I don't use mayonnaise. I'd eat mayonnaise on tuna, the rare times I eat tuna. Otherwise, I would never use mayo. I don't use salad dressing on anything. I don't use, what other kind? I don't use syrup. I eat pancakes or waffles or French toast only with butter. I don't put syrup. I'm just weird when it comes to condiments. I don't really like any. I like grilled onions. That's a condiment I like on a dog or whatever. But I'll give you my rundown from the game today. Concession lines were moving fast. Good job. I mentioned a few weeks ago I went to a Lake County Captains game, obviously a much smaller ballpark, much smaller staff, and I had to wait 27 minutes to get to the front of the line to order some food. It was insane. But today at the ballpark, it was a good crowd. I don't know what the official attendance today was. In fact, I'll look it up. I want to say it was in the mid-20s, which is a really great crowd for a Thursday afternoon. Today was the last day of school I know here in Rocky River. Some towns are already done. But so, usually this time of year, 1 o'clock game against the Royals in June, you'd have like 12,000 people there. All right, the official attendance. Let's see. Official attendance was 26,344. That was a good call. I saw my buddy JN and Menor. A lot of you know, if you're fans of mine for a long time, you know one of my buddies, JN and Menor, member of the old Animal House Twitter posse, who also, he's retired and he works at Progressive Field. I ran into him, and then he came by, stopped at the seat, and he said he thought there'd be between 26 and 28 today, and he was right, 26,344. It was a great crowd, and it was a great time. But what did I eat today? Okay, went to the concession stand the first time, and I got a Diet Pepsi because I got to watch my figure while I'm stuffing food. I had a bratwurst instead of a dog. I had French fries, and I had a hot pretzel. It was a little crazy. And then I did go back later and got a little bit of ice cream, which was actually decent. I'm very snobby usually about Mitchell's being the best, and it is. But whatever that ice cream brand is that they have there, I can't even think of it. But I got the little French vanilla. That was good. Aren't pancakes too dry? No, not with butter. And if you go to a place that has good pancakes, my favorite breakfast place, of course, is the Sleepy Rooster out on the east side. I drive 35 minutes sometimes just for a great breakfast because it's the best breakfast around. Jeremy in Akron is still a thing, Creative Juice. Jeremy is still in the mix. He's out there doing his thing. Anyway, so that was my food and my trip. As far as the game, it was a rare, ugly game for the Guardians today. They just didn't. It was just a rare day where they were not crisp, even though they had the lead early. Well, Kansas City scored in the top of the first, and that's where the day started with the Guardians not playing well. A rare error by Andres Jimenez in the first inning, and then a pickoff throw. Josh Naylor, I don't know what happened to him on the play, lost it. Ball gets away, runner gets to second. Then you get a double, and that knocks in the first run. And the Royals took a 1-0 lead. Guardians tied it up in the bottom of the first, but thanks to an error and a couple of hits, they had the bases loaded, nobody out, and only got one run. And Stephen Vogt after the game talked about the fact that they just could not get the clutch hit today, and that was the case. So they bases loaded, nobody out. They scored one in the third inning, the fourth inning. I mean, they had 8 hits at the end of the fourth inning, but only 3 runs scored. One of those hits, a bomb to right field off the bat of Jose Ramirez. But then after the fourth inning, the Guardians could do nothing offensively. The bad defense bit them again in the sixth. When Tanner Bybee started the sixth, allowed the first 2 base runners to get on. But, listen, Tanner Bybee's done a nice job. He's got a 3.73 ERA. He's pitched pretty well for the Guardians, 7 strikeouts today. He only gave 2 earned runs. But, he's got to be more efficient. He's got to be better at getting out of innings. And he couldn't even get an out in the 6th inning. You know, they need him. He's their ace basically right now. They need him to get deeper into games. He didn't get it done. He had a lead. And then Sandlin came in, gave up a hit, and then a bad play by Josh Naylor. The score was 3-2. There was a runner on third, one out, ground ball to first, and Naylor had an easy play at the plate, and he made a bad throw to his brother. Bo had to spin around, try to tag him. The base runner was, I think it was Melendez. I can't remember now. Flipped over Bo Naylor, and Bo Naylor had to make an awkward tag. They called him out at first, but the replay clearly showed he was safe. That tied the game. Bo Naylor looked like he got hurt there, and they pinch hit for him. Next time he was supposed to come up with Tyler Freeman. And then the Royals in the 8th took the lead. It was Hunter Gaddis, who's been lights out. Obviously, the bullpen's been great, but Hunter Gaddis got the first 2 outs in the 8th, and gave up back-to-back doubles to give the Royals the lead. And the Guardians really couldn't get anything going. Like I said, after 4 innings, they had 8 hits. They only got 1 hit the rest of the way after the 4th inning. They had some opportunities early and couldn't do anything with it. They got some base runners, on walks in the 6th and the 7th and again in the 8th, but couldn't do anything with it. They just couldn't get a big hit today. It's a rarity. What are you going to do? Schneemann he got a hit today also. He walked the lead off the 8th, and maybe you thought you had something possibly going, but a strikeout, and David Fry, who came into the game to replace Bo Naylor, grounded a double play. And then in the bottom of the 9th, the Guardians had the exact guys you'd want up there. Kwan, Jimenez, Ramirez with Naylor in the hole, and unfortunately Naylor didn't even get the hit. 1, 2, 3. Kwan pops up to center. Jimenez grounds out. Ramirez grounds out, and good job by James McArthur. Was very close to, it seemed like, to losing his job as the Royals closer, but he shut the door down in this one, and the Royals won. But it was a great day at the ballpark. A rare bad game for the Guardians. They go on the road now to play the Marlins, so hopefully they right the ship. They split the series with the Royals, and the 2-game series because it got rained out last night. First game with the Marlins in Miami tomorrow night at 7:10. The pitching matchups for this weekend against the Marlins. You got Logan Allen and Ryan Weathers tomorrow. Ben Lively against to be determined on Saturday. And then Sunday afternoon, it's Carlos Carrasco pitching for the Guardians against Trevor Rogers. So the Marlins are a terrible team. Guardians got to take care of business in that series. Jack says, really odd the way Bybee just lost it in the 6th. Yeah. I mean, he had a chance to, in some of the earlier innings, to have quick 1, 2, 3 innings. He couldn't do it. He just needs to really do a better job of closing out innings. There's a lot of innings, you don't even think about it, where, he has a chance to get out of it with 8, 10 pitches, and all of a sudden things get a little dicey as a 3-2 count. Now it's 17 pitches in the inning, and you do 2 of those a game, you cost yourself an inning or 2 in the game. So there you go. All right, to the Browns in just a sec. Again, if you're not using the BetRivers app, jump on it. The BetRivers app is absolutely the best. It's so easy to use. You can bet on anything, including the Browns opening day game 3 months before it happens. But before I get to the Browns here, All-Star sends me a message. Do you think it's more likely the Cavs move on from either Garland or Allen or both? I'd like to say both. But I think it's more likely they trade Jared Allen than Darius Garland. He has more trade value, and Garland's just a better player, even though Allen was better this season. So there you go. All right. I want to get to the Browns now. Yesterday, I thought was an excellent day. One of the better days for the Cleveland Browns organization, not including on the field stuff. Not that there's been so many great days for the organization in their modern history, but yesterday was a great day for the Browns. It showed, and I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but I wanted to expand a little more. We still don't know exactly how many years the extension is. I would assume it's at least 4 years for Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry. And with Jimmy Haslam and his, at times, out-of-control behavior, and his not being afraid of spending money spending tons of money. He's not afraid to fire a coach that he owes money to. So listen, this does not guarantee anything, but it shows a level of commitment from the owner. It signals that he is saying, and I think rightly, that we have, for the first time, really, and even though he did give Hugh Jackson a short extension, which was insane, but for the first time, really, you said, my GM is good, my coach is good. How good? We don't know yet. I talked about this yesterday, but we know they're good. And for the first time in forever, a commitment to both together. For so many years, you as Browns fans, me as covering the Browns, we've seen not only insane dysfunction in this organization, but even to the point where it seemed like so many regimes here in Cleveland, the GM and head coach were pulling in opposite directions, fighting for Jimmy Haslam's power, I guess, or confidence, fighting for each other. So many incidents with the different coaches and the coordinators and the GMs. You know all the stories. I don't need to go through it. But from the moment the Browns hired Kevin Stefanski, who was then part of the process of hiring Andrew Berry, it felt like, if nothing else, you had a situation where the GM and coach were cut from the same cloth, pulling the rope in the same direction, and had an equal share of power, if you will, and really wanted to work together, really respected each other and appreciated each other. And I have no reason to believe that has changed. All those things I felt about Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski are still there. Man, I got an itch on my nose. I can't stop scratching. It's driving me crazy. And that's a good thing. That's a major positive for the organization, especially when you appear to have both of those guys right. Because it seems like both of those guys are the right men for the job. And so I think it's a great day yesterday and still today for the Browns to lock up both guys. I think it's great for the organization that they appear to have stability going forward, no matter what happens this season. Yeah, I mean, if things go completely south the next couple of years, things could change. And I don't expect that to happen. But I think it shows the players, the fans, we believe in these guys. You should believe in these guys. And I think I would bet most, if not all, the players do. And it shows stability and coordination and a level of, what's the word I'm looking for? A level of competence from this organization that has really never been there since Jimmy or before now. That has never been there since Jimmy Haslam has owned the team. What's it been now? 10 years, 11 years? I can't remember the exact year Jimmy bought the team. Somewhere around there. I know it was soon after I moved to Cleveland. So it's a really good thing. Now, more good news for the Browns. Yesterday, if you didn't hear it, Nick Chubb spoke to the media for the first time since his terrible knee injury last year. He said he was feeling good. There was some video yesterday of him, running, not from a football, not as in a football sense with cuts and stuff like that, but he was like running on a track. He said he feels good. Now, a little birdie told me, I hear from little birdies from time to time. They fly around, they flap in my ear, they fly away. A little birdie told me that even though Nick Chubb is not practicing, not a surprise, 3 months before the season, that Nick Chubb has, not a surprise, a high level of confidence that he will not only be back this season, which of course we assume was going to happen, but that he believes, or that he's confident that he will be back for the start of the season. And I think most people have had the attitude that it's on that. I wasn't really expecting. I haven't been expecting Nick Chubb to be ready for the start of the season. As you love the guy, a freak athlete, his ability to come back from injury, it seemed like, okay, well, as the surgery was what? By the time the season starts, 11 months. I can't remember exactly when he had it. It'd be somewhere between 10 and a half, 11 months from the surgery to the start of the season. It seems impossible, right? But I don't know if anything's impossible when it comes to Nick Chubb. Today on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, I was saying I couldn't remember what exactly when you remember in college, part of the reason he dropped to the second round, because at the time running backs was still more frequently going in the first round. But at the time, I couldn't, or I didn't remember what exactly the injury was that Nick Chubb had. I was thinking it was just a torn ACL, and I was wrong. He actually did not tear his ACL. And in fact, his injury that he had now, 2 torn ligaments, is actually less than he suffered at Georgia. For those who forgot about it like me, I mean, it was a long time ago that we were talking about Nick Chubb in Georgia. When he got injured in Georgia, he suffered a torn MCL, PCL, LCL, and a dislocated knee. He had everything but a torn ACL. And yet he came back in his first year with the Browns, and every year with the Browns, he has played not just good, not just solid. He has played sensational football from the moment he stepped into Cleveland till the last time we saw him off the field with that gruesome injury. And Nick Chubb also commented about, the pay cut he took. Now, if he hits all his incentives, it probably won't be much of a pay cut, if at all. But he was very appreciative of the fact that he said the Browns could have cut him. They could have moved on. And it's easy to say, and I've said this, if the Browns had cut Nick Chubb, I don't know what he would have gotten. He wouldn't have gotten even as much as the Browns paid him. But still, a lot of players would have been pissed. He's been a great player. He got hurt in the course of battle, and the Browns, cut at least his guaranteed salary. He could have been angry about that, and I guess it's possible behind the scenes he is, but Nick's always come off as a straight shooter, and I don't know why. He went over the top about how appreciative he was of how the Browns treated him, how much he loves it in Cleveland. And those things I often take with a grain of salt. But the fact that he went so over the top about it, he didn't have to say anything. Nick Chubb usually doesn't say anything in these press conferences. And the fact that he was so effusive in his praise of the Browns and how much he wants to be here and how appreciative he was that they still gave him a very reasonable contract considering what he's coming back from and, frankly, his age. That had me feeling good. Not that I expected Nick Chubb to be pissed, but I didn't expect him to be so effusive in his praise of the organization. And I think we're all hoping that Nick Chubb spends the rest of his career in a Cleveland Browns uniform. And if he somehow is ready, like I could live with Nick Chubb playing 8 games this year. I could. If he told me he had to miss the first 8-9 games of the year, I could live with it. I wouldn't want to, but I'd understand. I was assuming he'd miss at least 4. But if Nick Chubb is actually ready for the first week of the season, I mean, that's just insane. And even if he is, they will probably be very careful with his how much they play him early. They obviously still have Jerome Ford. They brought in Deontay Foreman. They brought in Nyheim Hines. They have Pierre Strong. I don't think all those, you're not going to have 5 running backs on the roster, I don't think. So Pierre Strong's probably gone. But even if Nick Chubb is here, I mean, I would assume Hines, Foreman, and Ford are all going to be on the roster. Hines be a special teams guy, but he's still a running back. So they'll mix it up. I mean, Nick Chubb, I can't imagine is going to be taking, even 15, even 10 carries. I wouldn't think week 1 if he's ready. But you know what? Again, like I said, and I'm sure you all understand and appreciate, I would never bet against Nick Chubb. You come up a loser betting against that guy. So it was a great day, not only for the extensions for Berry and Stefanski, but to get that update from Nick Chubb, to hear he's feeling good, that he didn't say he'd be ready for the start of the season, but like I said, I've heard he's feeling good about that. Tony Two Turnt says Nick Chubb for president. I'm with you there. And says McNuggets profile pic looks like he's an anchor on Fox 8. Why Fox 8 in particular? McNuggets profile pic in YouTube chat is weird. It's a weird picture. I don't know what's going on there. He's asking me pancakes or waffles. I'll take pancakes over waffles, 99 times out of 100. I guess if I went to a place that specifically was known for their waffles, I guess. I'm trying to think if I've ever been in a Waffle House. I think I went to a Waffle House in Arizona for spring training. But regardless, Mike, I don't use syrup. That is correct, Creative Juice. Never. Brandon says competence isn't good enough, though. You're right, Brendan. And I talked about this a little yesterday. A lot of people are saying that Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry did a great job in their first 4 years. They didn't do a great job. They did a great job for the Browns. But compared to most teams, they did a fine job. And they proved that they're competent, better than competent. They're good. But these next 4 years, they got to be better than just good. We expect the next 4 years. I expect the next 4 years to see greatness, to see deep playoff runs. That's what I'm expecting. It's not good enough to win. It was a major step for this organization to be as good as they have been, a winning record over 4 years, a major increase in talent, a playoff win. But those are low goals. Most of the rest of the league would laugh at those goals. Now the goals are changed. Now the goals are to win multiple playoff games. Now the goal is to win the Super Bowl and be a perennial contender. That's what they've got to be next. That's the goal now, not just to be okay. Let's see. All-Star. How many games do we give Watson to get back in the groove? Lost 2 seasons of him already. We really need to turn him. I mean, listen, he's your starting quarterback as long as he's healthy this year. Hopefully the magic comes back with him. That's the hope. I mean, he's the most talented quarterback on the team. They're not giving up on him this year. He's getting this whole season. Hopefully he's healthy enough to play a whole season. Jack Quinn, glad about the extensions. I was worried Haslam wouldn't extend them and then scapegoat them in 24 if and when Watson struggles. Yeah, that was a slight concern. That was a slight concern, but that's now out the window. Resident Evil Metal Gear. I like that name. I bought my dad a Nick Chubb jersey for his birthday. He's been the best Browns player for years. What a guy. Can't disagree. I agree. I've argued with people, Nick Chubb versus Myles Garrett. To me, Nick Chubb, when he's been healthy, has been a more consistently great player than Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett's greatness has ebbed and flowed some, more than Nick Chubb to me. And by all accounts, I don't know Nick Chubb at all. I've talked to him in person 1 or 2 times, but not like, hey, we're hanging out talking in person, just doing an interview in person. He's been nothing but nice. I've never heard a single bad word about Nick Chubb. And in terms of his wanting to win, being about the team, there's no player I've ever seen covering this team that lives up to Nick Chubb. I say it once, I say it a million times. You have 53 Nick Chubbs on your team, you're going to win a lot of Super Bowls. Creative Juice says, I think that me not eating syrup is bigger news than Earl not liking cheese on a hamburger. Okay, that may be true, Creative Juice, but here's the difference. I admit that it's weird that I don't eat some of these condiments, like syrup. I'm not saying that is. I admit it's weird. Earl doesn't admit. He thinks it's weird that we eat cheese on burgers. So that's what makes Earl's thing worse, because he doesn't admit that he's the weird one. Let's see. Spencer says it's good to see them getting extended because I think the locker room is bought into what they are doing. I agree. Monzo, one of my producers, says Resident Evil and Metal Gear combo, the 2 greatest PS games ever. Well done. Okay. I didn't even know. I thought Resident Evil was a movie. Evil was a movie, not a video game. We'll continue to give you as much great content following, hoping a good weekend for the Guardians and plenty of stuff to talk about in terms of the Browns with the offseason activities. Might they be inclined to add a veteran free agent still in the market? We're seeing guys kind of tick off there a little bit. So check that out. Anise, hey, Bull, big fan of yours. Awesome. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Anise. Tony, what's more likely, Nick Chubb rushing for 1,000 yards in 11 games or Judy over 1,000 yards for the whole season? I would never. I know Nick Chubb's coming off an injury. I would bet on Nick Chubb over Jerry Judy 100 out of 100 times, even coming off an injury. So I'll say Nick Chubb. I think both could happen, but I'll say Nick Chubb. All right, talk to you all tomorrow. Thanks to Monzo and Max for producing, or talk to you all. I'll be on UCSS tomorrow, of course, and then back with the podcast on Monday. We'll see you next time. Where else but right here in the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by Bet Rivers. See you, everybody. Good night. Thank you.